What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Burndown YouTube channel. We are out here once again playing with the Malibu, and I think I have some stuff that may interest you guys that do EFI, that are racing, turbo applications, all that fun stuff. So when I first started with this car, it had the stock fuel tank, and I just punched a hole in the bottom, welded an AN fitting, and called that a fuel feed. And just from that point on, I mean, it was struggle street and learning and fuel system upgrades and lines and all kinds of stuff, which brings us to where we're at today. So today, what we have, if you're not familiar with the car, I'll show you just to recap. I have an eBay fuel cell. This is a custom made hat. There's twin, what are they, Walbro 525, the Hellcat pumps, and then they wire into a single feed. It's an 8. These are dual 8s, and it goes to a single 8 all the way up to the front, and then we'll look at that too. And that goes all the way around. Then it has a 6 return, which is this guy, and then this is my vent, right? So here's a return, and I got my flex fuel on there. So what I wanted to share with you guys is something that I do on this car, and it helps me instead of guessing. Because the one thing with fuel pressures, yeah, you got a fuel pressure gauge, right? And you're like, well, I should have this much or whatever, especially for tuning. If you don't have the fuel pressure, nothing is going to work correctly or be happy. And especially with turbos, you got to have the fuel there, because if you don't, bad things happen. So we are doing the filter today. So this is a Phoenix Industry. They're local to me, so I got this from them, and it's a 10 micron. And then what I do, so here's the first tip, is I have a backup element. And here we go. Can you do it one-handed? Can he do it one-handed? Yes, he can. Watch me dump it on the ground right now. Close enough. So this is the element that lives inside there, right? So I have a clean spare, and I take this with me to the track and everywhere, because I've been at the track and had fueling issues, and it's nice to know if you're having a fuel issue, this is an easy fix. This is a track fix, that's what I call it. If it's something simple, you can try it, cool. If you have major issues, just load up. Don't waste your time being sad at the track or working on your stuff, right? So this is one of my track fixes. I take it anyway. Long story short, I haven't checked or done the filters since we got back from Rocky Mountain Race Week, and the car's been sitting for a long time. So I fired it up a couple different times, wherever you guys have seen me do that. The fuel pressure was reading low, and I had to put a new cheap sensor in, right? I just dug through the bag of cheap sensors and plugged one in. So it's saying I had like 30 something PSI at idle, right? So I was like, I don't know. So what we're gonna do today to make life super simple, and then this is what you need to do to make life a no-brainer. You get yourself a fuel pressure gauge. So this is a manual fuel pressure gauge, right, with the fluid in it, la-di-da. So we have this. So I'm gonna plumb this into my regulator, right? So this is gonna give me pressure up at the fuel rails. And the way we're gonna do that, so we're gonna use this handy dandy fitting. You can get these from War Performance or online or wherever you want, but what this will do, this will thread in, and this gives me a bung. So technically, you could do it that way. For my application, this is gonna go straight in the regulator, and then I still need this because I have a fuel pressure sensor. So now the sensor will live in here. This will go where the sensor is, and that way I have kind of a fail-safe in case my cheap ass sensor, is being terrible. At least I have a backup to put eyes on. And here's another tip that I do. So that same exact gauge you guys see, I have one. The filter is obviously out over there, but I plumbed one in pre-filter. So what I'll do right now is, when we fire this thing back up, this is a restriction. Your filter is always a restriction, right? So this is gonna read a little higher than the one up front that we're gonna put in right now, and it's gonna read higher than what your dash says. The reason this one is cool is because you can make a note of it, like I'll write with a marker or whatever on here wherever it starts, where it's stock, like when the filter is brand new and clean. And if I'm having fueling issues, I can look under here, and if the needle goes up more from where I made the mark, that tells me that I have more restriction in the filter and that it needs to be addressed. And there's kind of a rate of swing of where it would be dirty or whatever, but it's going to help you from chasing your tail, and that's what I do a lot of the time in this instance. So I haven't done fuel filters or whatever. We're gonna fire this thing up. I need to eyelid a bunch. So we're just gonna do the filter. We'll make our marks on here. We'll get the other one plumbed in as well. And then we're gonna be golden. We'll have pre-filter pressure, post, which will be rail pressure, what the injectors are seeing. And then we have the digital representation on the dash that I can pay attention to as well. So let's go see how crusty that filter is. So the other thing I like about this particular brand, is they make good products, but they have normal sized nuts on the ends of these, because some of these filters, like I have another cheap one somewhere, like one that I used to have on there, and it had like this giant freaking, ooh, wrong way. It had this giant deal on it, man. And I couldn't, like, I'd have to put it in the vise and stuff, and then if I was at the track, it was kind of like, how are we gonna get this thing off? I don't know if I'm going the right way with this. If not, maybe we'll need a new filter when I strip this out. The other thing too is these are directional, if you are wondering, so we'll go over that real quick too. Alright, so there's my filter, and there you guys probably, you can't see it, but anyway, it's the same as that, and it's a 10 micron. That's the other thing too, is with fuel injection, you need, I mean, you can run larger, but it's like, you're kind of taking your life in your own hands. And then of course, this other guy is too tight. So, let me, see if we can fish this out of here with some needle nose or something. Alright, we back, baby. Let me see. See? Popped it right out. So, direction wise, this filter is in here like so, right? Like this. In there. The flow, you want it to go this way. This one has an arrow, some of the cheaper ones may not. The reason why is you want all your crud to collect on the outside of this, so when you spray it, it all comes off and then you're good to go again. If you plumb it the other way, which it'll still work fine, all of this stuff's gonna be collected inside and you're not gonna get all of it out. So that's why they're directional. This thing actually, color-wise, doesn't look too bad. Okay, so here's a clean one. But this thing's got like chunky doodads on it. So we'll spray this one off. But let me air blow this one off. And then we're just gonna put this in and put it together. That way I don't waste a bunch of time on video, whatever. So we'll give it a little squirt, squirt, put it back together, put it in, and then we'll plumb in the new gauge and we'll fire it up and see what we look like. And we'll see if our little cheap electronic gauge is lying to us or if we have other issues. Alright, got our filter, mindful of the arrow. It's got the fresh dude in there. So, slide this back in its home. Get this one started. So, I was just gonna open my fat mouth and say, so you can see this is an easy job. You can do it at the track. And then my hard line started fighting me. But, okay, so now that it's turning properly, I'm gonna say, so you can see this is an easy job and it's something that you could pull off at the track. If you were, like I said, having some fueling issues and you're like, oh, let me do the filter because that's a quick one. And that way it's, you know, peace of mind, you know that the filter's not plugged, right? And I used to do that too. I mean, I would be like, I just did the filter, there's no way, but I didn't have any way to monitor the thing. So that was when I put the gauge before this. The funny part, I will say, I don't know which one of you said it, and I still haven't fixed it, and that's probably why this stuff gets a little extra dirty, is I don't have a filter on my vent. So I think it's actually subscribed in and it's actually up above where the camera is right now. So I will confess that somebody said you need to put a filter on that. That's where your junk is coming from. Of course I haven't done it yet, because why would I fix the actual issue that I've had forever? Bada boom, bada bing. Okay, so that's in. We got our gauge here, and when we initially fire it up, I'll come over here and we'll put a little mark on wherever it goes to. And then I'll have to see what we're set at for fuel pressure in the computer, because that's what the car should be set at. I want to say it's like 45 or 50 at idle is what I'm after. So let's go plumb the new gauge and we'll do the new and then we'll be good. All right, so here's a look at my wonderful setup. So this is what we're gonna deal with today. We're gonna put that round circle gauge, we're gonna plumb that right here. And then we'll take this sensor and we'll use our handy dandy fitting and we'll probably plumb it in somewhere down there, whatever. We'll see whatever's easy. Maybe on this side. We'll have to take this out and kind of measure and see how we go, but let's do the easy part so we can feel like heroes, and then we'll hit Struggle Street and go from there. I think, man, I gotta see if I have fittings. So I think I'll need one nut and sleeve, because this will go on there, and then yeah, I'll need, because that'll connect, see, and then I'll be missing one. So, oh no I won't. See, but it won't fit there. So it'll fit this side though. So if we fit it there, bam, and then we put the sensor kind of facing out, and then we just move this back, so we'll just shorten it up. So that'll work out beach and dude. And then this guy will live over here with all the rest of this stuff, and I don't have to have extra wires going over there, so it'll clean things up. I actually extended this from Holly, by the way, so this isn't supposed to be that long. So when we're not being lazy, we'll shorten everything up. But again, we're gonna mess the fuel system at a certain point, but right now we just need to get it running and tested. I use the white stuff, thread sealant. I don't like tape. Some guys use the Teflon tape. I use this stuff. If you got a chunk of tape in your liner and your stuff, it would probably be bad. If this kind of gets in there, it just kind of goes away, washes out, does whatever it's supposed to do. But I like this stuff. Just simple, clean, easy. Then you don't have like all that Teflon tape, little strands hanging out and all that fun stuff. Or if you're awesome, like, you know, every once in a great while, I'll wind the tape the wrong way and screw it on like an idiot. Never happens to me though, right? I'm sure you guys don't do that either, I'm just saying. So let's go put this on and see how it looks. We got our gauge here, so now we've got both gauges, so we can grab the delta. Actually, it'd be positive. We'd have a positive pressure increase on the other one, and then this should read and tell us what the injectors are seeing. So this is really the important one. The other one is a maintenance item to let us know if the filter's plugged. So now that we got that done, let's take this line loose, do some little choppy chop, and see if we can get this guy, where's he at? This guy over here needs to come back to his home to get plugged in. Oh, and yeah, that's gonna bother me, but we're just gonna like double it over and plug it in, because like I said, I'm tired and we just need to run this thing and start getting it lined out, and we can worry about doing pretty stuff later. Yeah, I know, it looks like Squid Games. Maybe we'll just use some extra zip ties for horsepower. I threaded this back in, it comes across, and then you can see how we're a little long. So I'm just gonna give it the old eyeball with the Sharpie, make a little doot doot, and then we're just gonna cut her down. And that should be it. We should be rock and roll. We'll tighten it all up. We'll hit the key and we'll see how she does. Moment of truth, boys. Let's sneak her on in. See if we did good or if we didn't. One side in. Let's leave it loose. Oh man, that's some good eyeballing, if I do say so myself. That wasn't even camera magic, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I didn't have to do nothing to thread it right on. Pays off to do a million hard lines, I guess, right? You gotta get one right at some point. Make sure those dudes aren't touching. Alright, we'll tighten it down. It's like a victory, I'll show you guys. So there we go. We got our sensor on this side, we got our little dude in between. We'll just tight, this is tight, so we'll hit that, hit that, hit that, and then hopefully hit the key. I've got the laptop out, and the actual system pressure we're looking for, looks like I had it set at 50 psi. So I think what we'll do, I think 50 is fine. So 60, or it's actually 58, I think, from factory, like GM, 60 pounds is what they look for. And then you can run lower PSI. So I guess we could try like a 43, but let's just see where this nets us, because this is the tune that's in there, and we can play with it and adjust it as we go. So we'll load this in. We'll hit the key, see what she does, and see where our pressures are. All right, sent the tune over, ignition, fire in the hole. Delta. Huh. Wonder why the change in adjustment. Let me see if I can adjust the fuel pressure where it should be, and I'll bring you guys back. Alright, got it up. About 50 over there. So 50 on the dash now. Let's see where we're at over here. This will be our Delta. It's not exact, but you'll get an idea. Fuel delta is like a 2-3 pound restriction through that filter. And then also to double check, because I have dual pumps, I unplugged each pump and then looked at the pressure. So with it set where it was when I popped one, it went down to like 29 and plugged it back in and popped the other. So both pumps are working and they're pulling about the same weight on both. So we are looking good. Let's let this thing idle for a minute and we'll wrap this video. So we idled this thing for a while. When you say things on YouTube, you always look bad. So this ended up leaking and I had to put the tape on it. It's just what happens. You're like, hey, I just want to use this stuff so I can be nice and clean and blah, blah, blah. And then, so yeah, we ended up breaking out the tape. So yes, this stuff is awesome, but maybe because that's a cheap fitting or something, the threads weren't great. It was leaking and I was starting to crank on it. I'm like, you know what? We'll just tape this bad boy. So other than that, I think having my exhaust come up finally cooked this boy, or this thing just gave up the ghost. This thing's all original. I had it sitting outside and I don't know, it's not making any juice. So I think part of my problem with my fuel pressure was you got to make the amps, and it's a whole big old conundrum. But running, it was only at 11 volts, 11 something, so that's no bueno. And then I put a jumper pack on and that helped bring it up a little bit. And then the sound of the pumps and everything changed. I'm like, so that could possibly be part of it. But we adjusted it. We'll run it back. I'll have to get an alternator. But all in all, I did check this because I had to extend this wire out. So this thing is still putting out voltage to this. This dude's just not. It's all hot too, and probably sitting right above there. So I think we'll get a new one and we'll throw some wrap down on that. And then when we have time, we'll actually cut that and twist it, because I don't have to clear a box anymore. I used to have a steering box there. If you're wondering, like, why would you do that? Well, that's why. So all in all, this is a success. All this stuff works awesome. The fuel and everything is clean, good to go. And we will bring you back. We should be able to hopefully test drive it soon, but now I'm on the hunt for an alternator. You gotta live to fight another day. Until next time, you guys know what to do. Like, subscribe, share. I'm out.